In Summer in Review a couple weeks ago, I told you two things. One, I bought some PAL hockey games, including a PAL Switch game, and two, I went on a game store trip with my friends. What I didn't tell you is that there was a lot more that I bought on that game store trip with my friends. How about an entire stack of PAL PS2 games? So that's what we're talking about today. So, one of the stops in our trip was Game and DVD Exchange in Media, PA, and we walked in looking around, and it caught my eye. After recently buying a bunch of PAL games, I was like, those are PAL PS2 games. And I saw one of the games in this specific pile about halfway through the pile, and I was like, oh, you know, let me take a look. Of course, I'm in the mood for PAL games, and then to see PAL PS2 games that were really cheap, I was like, we're so in this. So yeah, I mean, I got the three games that I showed off in Summer in Review, but then I got this entire stack, and I was able to work out something with the I don't know if he was the owner or somebody working there for some trade-in stuff to match up. So definitely a cool little pile we got going on here. At least I think it's cool. I don't know why anybody else would think it's cool, but I think it's cool. The guy said that somebody had came home from the military who must have obviously been in Europe and brought home all these PS2 games, and I bought like probably half of them, something like that. So we'll dive right into it. But the first game we'll start with is one that I remember seeing in theaters, and that is Charlotte's Web. So this is based on the 2006 movie, which itself is based on the 1952 book. You've probably heard of Charlotte's Web at some point, right? Little pig finding his way with the help of Charlotte the spider. And there was a Game Boy Advance and DS release that came out in 2006, not necessarily alongside the movie, but basically alongside the movie. That was published by Sega in both North America and Europe, but not Japan. Of course, this video is about PAL games, not Japan. We're not talking about Japanese games for a couple episodes. But then, in 2007, only Europe got this specific PS2 version developed by Atomic Planet and published by Blast, who we're going to talk about a couple times. And it's completely different from the GBA and DS releases. Of course, those are handheld releases, usually a little bit lighter than full console releases, but this one is a third-person farm exploration, so, I mean, at least that's unique. But, yeah, I remembered this movie, so I was like, I'm going to get that one. Next up is Clever Kids Dino Land, and Clever Kids is a European-exclusive 6-game educational series from 2007 to 2009, all of which released on DS, Wii, and PC, with the first two also releasing on PS2. Clever Kids Pony World was the first one, and then Clever Kids Dino Land, was the second one. So this was the last Clever Kids PS2 release. I know that's a really, really big deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. It's a educational dinosaur-themed game. We love dinosaurs. It was developed by Gamerholics and published by Midas. I don't know. What else do you want? One thing I'll start to say, though, is you probably saw when I flashed a bunch of the games on the screen, but all PAL PS2 games have this white end label, which I think is really, really cool. It makes them look very uniform. And they also all have these seals on the back, so the bottom is usually white, and then it has the little seal on the back. So not here in North America, but yeah, it says official licensed product PS2. So that's kind of cool. Clever Kids Dino Land. The next one is we a little bit of we'll talk a little bit, but my love for weird sports games on this channel is very well documented. The last episode ended with me flashing like 20 handball games. I've also talked about how much I really like dodgeball games. I think they're really unique, pretty cool. I'm also a huge hockey fan and baseball fan. Not that those are necessarily weird sports, but like my history with weird games is well documented. But we have two more in a weird sport that we would consider, at least by North American standards. So, according to price charting, the only cricket games we've gotten in North America have been on PC, the Commodore 64 and the Commodore 128, which I didn't know existed until researching for this episode, and also the Apple II, which is a really old computer, so not really anything super of value in North America, but in Europe, they love their cricket. We get yearly Maddens, we get yearly MLB The Shows, NHLs, NBA 2Ks, and in Europe, they get their yearly Cricket 2004 and Cricket 2007. These are the same line. They are EA Sports yearly titles. And NHL, I believe, NHL is EA, so like they also had NHL 2004, but then at some point they just changed to NHL 2007. So same kind of idea, but only in Europe. So according to according to GameFAQs, the first EA Sports Cricket was in 1996 on PC, and the last one was this one right here, Cricket 2007 on PS2. That's kind of sad, a little tragic, but yeah, I mean, yearly cricket titles, I don't know how much more fun it could be than that. I also think that at some point, Big Ant Studios picked up yearly cricket games. The most recent one was in 2024, Cricket 24, so I might need to pick up a copy of that on Switch. I don't know how I'm going to do that right now unless it's already here in North America, but yeah, so it goes. Cricket. Moving on is another movie I've heard of but never seen, and that is Dr. Dolittle. Like I said, I've never seen it before, but it's apparently a 1998 film where Eddie Murphy is a vet or something. I mean, you've probably seen it. I've never seen it, but you've probably seen it. But did you know that there was a video game based on the movie 8 years later? The movie came out in 1998, and the video game came out in 2006, developed by Aqua Pacific and published by, again, Blast. That's it. It's a European exclusive PS2 game, which is kind of funny. Eddie Murphy's not on the cover, so there's probably some licensing going on there. And I don't know. It's European exclusive, like I said, but did Europe really like this movie enough to get a European exclusive PS2 game 8 years after the fact? I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. There's at least one more game here that's also like sort of legacy media sort of, but yeah, I don't know. Dr. Dolittle seemed very specific, but now we have Dr. Dolittle. Moving on, as you follow my poor decision making, but you learn something new every day. And did you know that slot machines in Europe are called fruit machines? Maybe because the slots, the little roulettes, have fruits on them. That's my only guess. But did you know that there was an entire line of games in Europe with Fruit Machine in the title, including this apparently standalone title, the European exclusive Fruit Machine Mania? So kind of similar to Japan having a lot of games with Patchy Slot in the title, Europe has a lot of games with Fruit Machine in the title, but unlike Japan, where a lot of the Patchy Slot games are in the same line, like sort of like, you know, annual releases or whatever, this one was standalone, and apparently a lot of them are standalone, which is pretty weird. And yeah, that's kind of it. GameFAQs doesn't mention a ton about this specific game. I don't even think I could find the Wikipedia page for this specific game, even if it did exist. But if you go on GameFAQs and look up Fruit Machine, you'll find almost 2 full pages of Fruit Machine games that my guess are all definitely European exclusive, but 2 also not related to each other. So kind of interesting. This one was published by OG International. Yeah. It was apparently popular enough to get a PS2 Classics re-release, which is like our version of Greatest Hits. I can gamble now. The next game is the game that caught my eye first in the pile, and is the reason why I started to go through them, because I was like, well, maybe there's actually some really cool stuff in here. And it's the game Futurama. But let me talk about this one. So the series itself doesn't need any introduction. I think if you know Futurama, you don't need me to tell you about Futurama. But it's a series that I just never really got into. There's a point in time where in the mid-2000s, after the Simpsons movie came out, I maybe would have became a Simpsons fan, but it just never stuck, so I never really got into it. But it's the same writer as The Simpsons that did Futurama. Of course, if you look at their faces, they got the same kind of lip that a lot of Simpsons characters have. But this game, unlike all the ones that we've had so far, I think every single game here has not come to North America. Charlotte's Web might be the closest with another version that was in North America, but Futurama actually did. It went to Europe first and then North America in the same month by 2 weeks. But yeah, this game in North America is crazy expensive. I have a friend who likes Futurama enough that ponied up, I want to say $200 or $300 for this game in North America, because that's how much it goes for. And this one, I paid 10% of that. Of course, PAL games here in North America, as a quick side note, PAL games don't work in North America up to a certain generation. I want to say maybe the PS4 generation, the Switch generation. Switch is not region locked, but for example, I want to say that most PAL games before like the late 2010s have running differences. And what I mean by that is like they're meant to run on different TVs. Europe has like 50 hertz TVs. Here in North America, we have 60 hertz TVs. So the games aren't like, even if you were able to like break the tabs on a Super Nintendo game, you couldn't play a Super Nintendo game from Europe in a North American console. There's a lot of nuances there, so I don't want to say that's like the be all end all, but basically you can't play this in North America without proper PAL equipment. So because of that, this game is super cheap. And I paid like $30 for it before the trade-in. So that's pretty cool. But again, this is the first game to properly come to North America, and it's also got an Xbox version. So all the versions came in August 2003. Like I said, Europe got them 2 weeks beforehand, and another one that never went to Japan. So strange example of North America and Europe getting a game, but not Japan. There was apparently a GameCube game that got canceled, so I don't know a ton of lore about Futurama, but like the game itself is super expensive because I think it had a very limited release. Didn't sell well, wasn't received well, but I believe there's also like an unreleased episode in it that would have been after the show release. So like crazy Futurama fans go crazy for this because it's like, I want to say it was like the 73rd episode or something like that. The only way to get it, or at least the only way to get it at the time, was through the PS2 and Xbox releases. So yeah, I don't know. Please, Futurama fans, correct me, but if I didn't see that game, I probably would have just kept on walking. Not that I necessarily like Futurama, but it's definitely a piece of gaming history, so to speak. And yeah, I bought more. I'm not really sad about it, though. Anyway, from one TV show to another, we have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the Party Edition. This game doesn't need an introduction. There's not really anything I need to say about the game. But this specific one, this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Party Edition, despite Who Wants to Be a Millionaire having numerous releases in North America, this one, along with its PC and PSP versions, is also European exclusive. How odd. So it's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. All these games are pretty cheap. Futurama was the most expensive by a long shot at like $30. And yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I don't know. That's all. I saw it. I know the show, and I was like, well, I want to get it. I don't know. Moving from a weird game to to another weird game. This is actually let me explain first. So, James Pond, not James Bond, James Pond, Underwater Agent is a 1990 platformer that initially released on the Amiga in North America, kickstarting a whole series of games and an entire franchise that's on this James Pond. So a year later, James Pond 2, codename Robocod, fish, underwater agent, right? Also released on the Amiga, but it also had a ton of other versions, including a Game Boy release, a Super Nintendo release, the latter of which was released in North America as Super James Pond, but then that Super Nintendo release was also released in Japan, so the first time a game in this episode went to Japan. Kind of crazy. And then for some reason, 13 years later, so the original game was released in 1991, the ports came at different times, but at some point 13 years later, there was a PS1 version of it. So the developers and publishers teamed back up to re-release James Pond 2 as a budget title in a bunch of different ways. So let me go through all of those different versions. So the original game was James Pond 2, codename Robocod, but this set of releases was just James Pond codename Robocod. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't say. It just left off the 2 at the end of James Pond. So anyway, in 2004, there was a European exclusive PS1 title, which 2004 is ridiculously late for a PS1 title. Just throwing that out there. The PS2 is out by like 2 or 3 years at that point, I'm pretty sure. Then in February 2005, there's a Game Boy Advance version released in Europe, and then 6 months later in North America. in December 2005, so after the GBA version comes to North America, there's a DS release in Europe, and then that DS release took 3.5 years to come to North America, and then finally, in July 2006, we got this European exclusive PS2 release, developed by GameWare and published by PlayIt. That was a lot of weird history. So it's the exact same game, I can imagine, with a few improvements as the original from the original 1991 release. But like, I don't know, just going through that release history, I was like, what on God's green earth am I doing? So yeah, that was pretty funny. But now I have James Bond. I think I have a single James Bond game in Japanese. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I do. But yeah, I would love to get more of them because they're just so ridiculous. But James Bond Operation Robocod, the European exclusive PS2 version. I don't know. What am I doing? Moving on, we have, background. I have a soft spot for, like, board game compilations. They're total shovelware, so, like, as much as I would love to collect every version of Ultimate Board Game Collection because it's the cleanest way to, like, play chess or Sorry here in North America, they're really cheap and they're just all kind of garbage. But, of course, I had to get a European exclusive one. Junior board games that released in November 2004, developed by Mere Mortals and published by Oxygen Interactive. It would also have a PC version that came out 2 full years later. Weird. It's got, on the back, it tells us that it's got Snakes and Ladders, not Chutes and Ladders. It's got Ludo, which I believe is Sorry here in North America. It's also got Dominoes. On the back, it literally says a dice game. And Battleships. I probably wouldn't buy it if it wasn't European exclusive, but maybe I would have anyway. So, like, side note, I love that some of these games are exclusive. They're so funny. They're so weird. Some really weird stuff in here. I don't know. Some stuff that, like, you've heard of and some stuff you haven't. I don't know. I'm having fun. If this doesn't seem like fun, I'm having a lot of fun. Next up is Lemmings, but let's talk about this guy. So, like James Bond, Lemmings is a series that began with a 1991 Amiga release, and to say that the game kickstarted something, it definitely kickstarted something. So, it's mostly a puzzle series, and that original Amiga release from 1991 was ported to 22 different systems across the entire world in all regions. There's an NES version that came out after the Super Nintendo version in North America. Like, that's kind of impressive, but, like, there's 23 versions of the original game, and this isn't one of them. There have been a ton more releases than James Bond. I think James Bond had, like, 5 unique titles, something like that, and Lemmings had a few more. I think the last one was a 2018 mobile release, which, like, it's not a console release, but, like, definitely more long-standing than James Bond. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, this specific release came alongside a PSP version and a PS3 version. That PSP version was released physically in all regions, and the PS3 version was released digitally in all regions. But this PS2 version is European exclusive, being developed by Team 17 and published by SCEE. This guy has a cult following. I think I've met people that really like Lemmings, but I don't know. I thought this was really funny, really interesting. I don't know. I don't know anything about Lemmings. You can school me on Lemmings, I guess. I don't know. But the next one is also a very interesting one for a couple different reasons. But in a fashion very similar to Japanese media franchises that we have discussed in great detail over the past couple months at this point, we have Mr. Bean, which is a British sitcom that ran from 1990 to 1995 that stars Rowan Atkinson as the Mr. Bean, and I think Mr. Bean is just in general, like, culturally significant. I don't know how or why, but I've heard of Mr. Bean. I can assure you, I have never consumed any Mr. Bean media here in North America. This is the closest I've ever gotten to Mr. Bean anything. So I don't know why I knew about Mr. Bean. I don't know what it popped up in that I would have known about Mr. Bean. Like, I literally have no clue. So seeing this, I'm like, I know Mr. Bean, and I don't know why. I knew who Mr. Bean was way before this, but I have no idea the origins of how I knew that. Anyway, the franchise started with that live-action TV show, but then there was an animated spin-off, question mark, from 2002 to 2003, which got some games. So GameFAQs separates the games into 3 different versions. I'm not entirely sure why, but all of which are just platformers released at different times. So once again, let's go through the weird release history, just like we did for James Bond. There's a 2007 PS2 release. What does my notes say? Oh, okay. I usually leave this region out because it usually goes pretty hand in hand with PAL releases, but Australia actually got this game first, and then Europe gets it in December 2007. So that's this release. This was developed by Beyond Reality and published by, again, Blast. And that PS2 version, this PS2 version, didn't release anywhere else. Like I said, Australia and Europe kind of go hand in hand in a lot of cases. I don't know if Australia misses out on a lot of games, but I think they mostly get lumped together. Anyway, there was also a year later in March 2008, there was a European exclusive DS version, and then in February 2009, there was a European exclusive PC version and a Wii version. That Wii version also took like almost 2 full years to come to North America in January 2011, and that specific Wii game is like $80. Like, it's kind of expensive. I mean, it makes sense as like the only Mr. Bean physical game to come out in North America, but yeah, Mr. Bean, we're getting all sorts of weird guys here. So I guess whatever guy was in the military saw this and was like, I must be European. I don't know. That's my only guess. I don't know. Maybe it's a really good game. If anybody's played the Wii version here in North America, let me know. But yeah, I don't have any lore on Mr. Bean. I think it's very, very interesting, extremely strange. But if you got Mr. Bean lore, let me hear it. But I'm loving also these like really weird release histories, which is pretty indicative of what happens with a lot of European games. Like, if they get it at all, maybe they get like weird ports of stuff. I don't know, but I love that a lot of these games are exclusive. I already said that, but like still, Mr. Bean would end up getting a couple more mobile games, but I think has been mostly dormant since. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I don't know, are there any Mr. Bean stands in my comments? I don't know. But from one British TV show to another, we have Thunderbirds, which is based on a 1965 to 1966 series regarding a secret organization who wants to save lives. I don't know, but it's not every day that we get video games based on legacy media like that. So like Dr. Dolittle, I mean, a little weird that like the game came out 8 years afterwards and there's no other Dr. Dolittle games. But this game is this is like series is like 40 years old by the time this comes out. So speaking of, there have been quite a few video games, so I can only imagine how popular it was. Like, I'm going to go through it in just a second, but the show itself apparently came to North America in 1968 and inspired Ultraman. So I've never heard of Thunderbirds before. Like, I've heard of Mr. Bean. I've never heard of Thunderbirds. So I don't know if it's just like a boomer show in the nicest way possible, but like, if you know Thunderbirds, please school me on all these games as usual. But yeah, there have been a ton of games as far back as the Commodore 64 in North America, and in Europe there is also a Japanese and North America Famicom/NES release in 1989, a 1993 Japanese exclusive Game Boy and Super Famicom title, a European exclusive GBA release in 2001, all of these among others. And finally, we got this European exclusive PS2 release in 2007, developed by Puka Games and published by, you guessed it, Blast. He's sitting right there. And that's all I got about the game. And I got one more piece of info, but like, I don't know. This is interesting. I've never heard of Thunderbird, so seeing this, I was like, what is this? And then come to find out, it's a TV show that ended up airing at some point here in the 1960s. So, pretty cool. Side note, though, I don't know if you can really tell. I don't know if this helps at all, but those guys at the bottom, they're all puppets. The show is puppet-based, and in Wikipedia's like talking about it, it mentions that the type of puppetry is called super marionation, like marionettes. But the way it's spelled like Super Mario Nation. So in the very first paragraph of the Wikipedia page, I was like, why does it say Super Mario Nation in the title, even though it had nothing to do with Super Mario? So I thought that was just very weird. Yeah, Super Marionation. I'm a little brain rotted to Nintendo, I guess, but Thunderbirds. Oh, we're almost to the end. I got 2 more games. This one I'll give an honorable mention. This would be the last game in almost every other video. Not that I need to explain the series. I don't even need to explain the game. You can give me a pass because just it's Sonic Heroes. So I don't know. The only thing I can really say is I could be wrong. Sonic fans, don't burn me at the stake, but I think this is a different artwork from the the North American release. So at least I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think I have it on Switch. Was it released on Switch? I might have it on Switch. I don't know. Whatever the case is, I think it's a different artwork. I could be wrong. But this is a very typical example of a game that released everywhere, but Europe got it last. So it took the second to last game in the episode to get a game that released in all regions, but in typical fashion that Europe got it last. So Sonic Heroes. Now, that would normally be the last game in the episode because it's the most famous. I don't know, maybe the James Pond would have been the last one, the Futurama would have been the last one, but I am leaving this one for last. And that is, of all the games that I want to put last, over Mr. Bean, over Lemmings, over James Pond, over Sonic Heroes, over Cricket, for crying out loud, we have Crazy Frog Racer. Let me talk about this guy. So, over all of those series, I wanted this to be last, and I'll start with my history, that I remember the song Axel F coming out in the early 2000s, and you've probably heard it. It's like bum 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 bum. But it was also this very annoying frog guy known as Crazy Frog. So at the time, I loved Crazy Frog enough to ask my mom to buy me a CD with Axel F on it. It had a couple other remixes of like super popular songs. The one that is coming to mind right away is Popcorn, which I can't remember how it goes. And like We Like to Party, I think. We Like to Party. I don't know. Very classic themes that just get remixed by this guy. And as I mentioned in summer interview, I am Swedish. So my mom took us to Sweden pretty frequently when I was a lot younger, before like baseball and other extracurriculars took over in this North American kid's life. But I have a very distinct memory of talking to my cousin at the time. Again, I am really, really young. This is like 20-something years ago. And we had a language barrier because in Sweden, they also learn English in school, but we don't learn Swedish here in North America, so we didn't quite have an understanding of each other. But the only thing that we understood from each other was Crazy Frog, so I'm pretty sure we just like listened to Crazy Frog together and danced together. I don't know, we were innocent, childlike, whatever kids, but so I have that distinct memory of Crazy Frog. I remember getting the CD. I remember Axel F being like something I would just play on repeat. And aside from the fact that I learned, growing up as an adult, that Axel F came from Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy's character is, I want to say, Axel Foley. Eddie Murphy again. We had Eddie Murphy in the beginning of the episode, and now we have him at the end. But Axel F was in that movie, and then Axel F that we know it from Crazy Frog is a remix version. But among researching, what I also learned is that the guy behind Crazy Frog is Swedish. So that's super cool. It's one guy that makes everything behind the scenes, and basically Crazy Frog was active from 2003 to 2009, and that was like the heyday. That was the Axel F era, if you will. He went on hiatus. I don't know what he did in the intermediate, but he came back not too long ago. There was a single releasing in 2021, so that's kind of cool. I don't know what kind of music, kind of money this guy makes from remixing these songs, but it's a cool little guy. There's also apparently a mini documentary by the guy like 7 or 8 years ago that it's in my watch list to watch. I've been listening to some Crazy Frog stuff. It says featuring the annoying thing. I think at one point also Crazy Frog was known as the annoying thing. I mean he is a frog, right? But like I don't know. For reference though, like how culturally significant Crazy Frog is, the original Axel F music video has like 5 billion, almost 6 billion views on YouTube. So like that's absurd. But anyway, coming to the game. It's unsurprising. Crazy Frog's a media franchise. Maybe kind of a weird thing that a music group technically got a video game, but it got 3 games, actually. The first of which is this guy, Crazy Frog Racer, releasing exclusively in Europe in December 2005 on PC, PS2, and Game Boy Advance, with a DS version coming 11 months later in November 2006. Then there was a sequel to Crazy Frog Racer, which is Crazy Frog Racer 2, which I didn't get because this is the only one they had, but I'm aware of its existence, and I want to get it at some point. But surprisingly, even weirder, that Crazy Frog game, that Crazy Frog Racer 2, did come to North America as Crazy Frog Arcade Racer. I don't know. So the European release was in December 2006, so about a year after the first one. That was Crazy Frog Racer 2, sorry. This one was December 2005. Crazy Frog Racer 2 was December 2006. And then 9 months after the European release, we got Crazy Frog Arcade Racer here in North America in September 2007. There would be another European exclusive DS game in 2008, but yeah, I mean, to say that this reminds me of being a kid, like, it totally reminds me of being a kid. So I'm really glad to have gotten this. And yeah, definitely looking to get Crazy Frog Racer 2 at some point. So, yeah, this episode was a mess, but I don't really care. I'm just really excited to talk about PAL games. You know, of course, the current state of affairs, I don't know if I'll be collecting more PAL games anytime soon, but I don't know. Still cool. I'm glad to have come across them. It was definitely the most exciting thing I got while I was on that trip, even over like the 3 things that I got. I even got an Ape Escape game on that trip, and I'm more excited about all these PAL games that I got, so whatever that might be. Anyway, with all that said, I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching. There's a lot I didn't know about these games. You know, I kind of tried to go fast for PAL games, but if there's anything I missed, anything you happen to know specifically, please let me know. I would love to continue learning about these games as much as I have hopefully taught you something. So, with that said, from Crazy Frog and I, bye!